This is, again, any self-defense instructor worth his salt will tell you to dismember your attacker and bury him in your backyard.
Oh.
And if they don't, they're not worth... I mean, Aaron Israel never taught us this. I am really disappointed.
Bringing you law, gospel, and guns. This is Armed Lutheran Radio.
Hey folks, welcome to another episode of Armed Lutheran Radio, a show about guns, hunting, competitive shooting, the natural right of self-defense, and what God's Word says about the issues surrounding gun rights and gun ownership. I'm your host, Lloyd Bailey, the Armed Lutheran, and this is episode number 304. Thank you all so much for making Armed Lutheran Radio a part of your week again this week. And today is another Clinging to God and Guns show, and that means we're joined once again by the pistol-packing padre himself, Pastor John Bennett. Pastor, welcome back.
Thank you, Lloyd. It's always good to be back.
It is always good to get together. Even it was just last week we were together for the live show. It's never too. We used to do this every week, so never too often.
You know, and I have to say, there's times where I kind of miss those days where that was so much more convenient, because with your work schedule, I'd wait for the wife and kids to go to school and we'd do it first thing in the morning. But
yep.
For a guy who only works one day a week, well, now it's Lent, so 2 days a week.
2 days a week.
My life and my vocation can add a lot of stress, so I enjoy these mental distractions.
Yes, absolutely.
In other words, doing this is good for my mental health, so thank you.
Awesome. I'm glad to provide a little mental salve for your troubles as in your 1 day a week career.
Yes.
All right, we've got some fun today for Clinging to God and Guns. For those of you who have never heard a Clinging to God and Guns show, you're in for a treat. Before we get started with that, I want to thank the men and women that are members of the Reformation Gun Club, the people who make this show possible. This week, a special shout out to Kevin in Fairfax, Missouri, Calroy in Boron, California, John in Spokane, Washington, Frank from Lake City, Michigan, Vincent from Tulare, California. I've been mispronouncing the name of his town for years now. It's not Tulare, it's Tulare. I've gotten that wrong every single time, and I apologize, Vincent, for screwing it up. Eric from the most appropriate name for any city in Ohio, Buckeye, Ohio. Tony from Little Elm, Texas, and Kevin from Marion, Iowa. Thank you all so much for your support. Armed Lutheran Radio is listener funded. That means we don't have any advertising. We don't have any sponsors. We rely on people like those that I just mentioned, the members of the Reformation Gun Club, to help keep the lights on and make all of this possible. And you can join them for as little as $15.17 a year, $15.17 in honor of the Reformation. Little inside joke there for us Lutherans. Check it out, Armed Lutheran Radio, or armedlutheran.us/gun club. You can find out all about the benefits, all about the different membership levels. Find out about the hundreds of hours of exclusive content that we have available for you. And you can be a part of our monthly online hangouts, one of which we had last week, which was awesome fun. Check it out, armedlutheran.us/gun club, or look for a link in the show notes for this or any of our previous episodes. All right, today is Clinging to God and Guns. This goes back to the early days of the show. Pastor Bennett and I get together and we tackle a particular topic or a series of news stories or some dumb article written by some really lame leftist anti-gun Christian. Today, what we're doing is we're going to be looking at some fairly recent self-defense stories. It's sort of something we've started doing the last couple of years called Crime and the Ten Commandments. This is probably less Ten Commandments-y, more Eighth Commandments-y, trying to put the best construction on the actions taken by the people involved in these stories and seeing what lessons we can learn from them. The pastor has never seen these stories. He may have seen them, but I didn't share them. I am not going to read the headlines. I'm going to bury the lead here so that you have no idea what's coming, because sometimes it's given away by the headlines. So,
Well, I have to confess that there's times where you tell me what the headline is, and I'll do a quick Google search, so I'm looking at the same article as you are. So I have no idea what's coming. This could be fun.
all right. So our first story comes from Fort Wayne, Indiana. You're a Fort Wayne Seminary grad, right?
Yeah, Fort Wayne,
Class of 2005.
2005. Fort Wayne is a very interesting city. It is sprawled out in roughly 100 square miles.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll take you a good half hour to drive from the north end of Fort Wayne down to where the Fort Wayne airport is. You'll have some very beautiful homes on the north end, and then you get down past the downtown area into the south end, and it looks no different than like the south end of Chicago. So it's
Gotcha.
it is one of, and speaking of Chicago, in some ways it resembles kind of the demographics of Chicago, where you have such a wide disparity between the upper class and the lower class, to use those terms for lack of better terms. So
Gotcha.
yeah.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say this happened somewhere in the southern part of the town, of the city.
Wouldn't surprise me. Wouldn't surprise me. There's two things that the city of Fort Wayne is known for: a lot of churches and a lot of strip clubs.
What a strange opposite end of the
Yes.
spectrum that is.
They, and I'm just reminiscing now, so you'll have to bear with me. They got so creative with the names for their, I'm sorry, not strip clubs, gentlemen clubs.
Oh, yeah.
They have showgirls. They have showgirls.
That makes it so much better.
They have showgirls 1. They have showgirls 2. They have showgirls 3. So yes, all located in different areas of the city. So,
Very good.
and I've never
So you
stepped
can
foot into a single one of them.
Strippers on Saturday and repentance on Sunday.
Yeah, maybe that's the whole idea behind it. You know.
That could be.
Oh darn! They put up another strip club. Guess we need another church nearby.
Right. Trying to balance things
Yes.
out. This story is interesting. Weston R. Blakely, age 23, is accused of shooting 22-year-old Jonathan Christopher Jackson multiple times. Blakely is facing one felony count of murder in connection with the killing. Now, Fort Wayne police were called to an apartment in the 2100 block of Point West Drive on November 10th of last year after a man was heard yelling for help. There, amongst the blood-smeared walls in the common area outside his apartment, they found Blakely bleeding from his hands and head, and Jackson dead from gunshot wounds. Blakely told detectives that Jackson began attacking him in the living room. He struggled to get to his bedroom, retrieved his gun, and then warned Jackson not to come near him. Blakely said in court documents that Jackson made a move toward him, so he unloaded every round in the gun. Now, to be fair, it's a .380,
Okay.
so not packing a whole lot of punch, and it probably only holds the 7 rounds he fired. When he tried to leave his bedroom to get his cell phone to call police, Blakely said he tripped over Jackson. He tripped over the dead body.
Oh gosh.
He thought Jackson was trying to get up and come after him again. So, what do you think he did?
Shot him a
He
second
took a
time.
knife.
Oh.
He took a knife and cut Jackson's throat. Now, I don't know about
Oh,
you, but
gosh.
this says to me classic self-defense.
Yeah.
Because any self-defense instructor worth his salt will tell you that once you shoot your attacker, the best thing to do before calling 911 is to cut his throat. That prevents him from attacking you again.
Or to put the best construction on everything here, perhaps he thought that I've already mortally wounded him. I may as well put him out of his misery as an act of mercy.
Oh, God. Or maybe he thought he was afraid he would turn into a zombie, so he just decided to finish. Cut the head off.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, my Lord. So the entry and exit wounds left on Jackson from the gunshots, though, paint a different story. Rather than being consistent with a person standing in front of a shooter, most of those match that of someone lying down before a shooter with the gun.
Okay.
The wounds on Blakely's head did not come from someone attacking him from behind, according to court documents. Instead, detectives believe they likely came from Blakely being on top of Jackson and Jackson using the knife to defend himself against the much taller and heavier Blakely. Detectives believe that after the fight, Blakely got his gun, shot Jackson in the head, and then unloaded the rest of the rounds into his body as he lay on the ground, already dead near the bedroom door. And then he sliced Jackson's throat after he was already dead.
Oh,
not
man.
in an attempt to keep him from getting up. So I don't know whether so he's claiming self-defense.
Sounds like self-defense to me.
He must have thought zombies. That was the first thing that came to mind when I'm trying to put the best construction on it. Zombies. Clearly, he thought that he had come back from the dead and grabbed his foot as he stepped over him out into the hall, and then he figured, I don't have any bullets left, so I might as well.
Yeah. Here's
I don't know.
Here's the interesting part. I looked up the address, and it's actually not in the worst part of town. So,
oh, interesting.
yeah, but it's. Oh wait, I'm looking at the map right now, and this is right around the corner from Showgirls 1.
Oh, could be related.
Oh.
So apparently, detectives think that the two of them were fighting, and it just turned ugly. But claiming self-defense, and you'll see kind of a theme in these stories that these are not really good claims of self-defense.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I mean, if you're in a fight with somebody and you're fearing for your life, the best thing not to do is to shoot them while they're laying on the ground repeatedly and then cut their throat. I mean, not great for your self-defense claim.
No.
All right, this next one is a Florida man story from Boynton Beach, Florida. This comes to us from Yahoo News.
Awesome.
Mary, I love this lady's name. I'm not trying to be disrespectful because she is the victim in this case. Mary Stella Gomez Mullet. I can only picture a guy, like what's that character in that movie character with the big horrendous mullet? Oh my!
Oh,
I can see him and I can't think of it. It'll come to me at the most inappropriate time, I'm sure.
all I can think of is the parodies.
Joe Dirt.
Oh, Joe Dirt. There you go. Okay, that works. That's not what I was thinking of, but that works. Yeah, Joe Dirt.
So she was an immigrant working as a caretaker for a man named Roberto Colon, helping to take care of Roberto's mother, who was suffering from dementia. Here's where it gets interesting. Colon told Boynton Beach police that in exchange for her taking care of his mom, he married her weeks after they met so that she could become a U.S. citizen. So right off the bat, we've got a Sixth Commandment issue.
What could go wrong?
What could go wrong here, right? So, Colon, I'll just use his first name, Roberto, had grown angry with Gomez Mullet. I love that. I just need to marry. Let's just use first names here so I don't get distracted. Roberto had become angry with Mary, accusing her of defrauding his mother out of tens of thousands of dollars, according to a police report. About 2 p.m. on my birthday last year, February 18th, Mary drove a Toyota, which Roberto said that she, quote, fraudulently obtained through his mother, allegedly. She drove the car to his house. She had, according to her friends, she planned to drop it off along with a purse that his mother gave her because she wanted nothing more to do with him. The friend said that she and Mary were on the phone talking as Mary pulled into Roberto's driveway, and just before she hung up, she yelled, "No, no, no, Roberto," and the call disconnected. And and then subsequent calls to her cell phone went straight to voicemail. That afternoon, this is where it gets really weird. Someone called police reported finding a bloody purse, which patrol officers located a mile from Cologne's house. In the purse, investigators found documents showing that Mary lived with Roberto's mother in Hialeah, plus a broken white rosary chain with a crucifix. A member of the family showed detectives a picture of her holding that purse and wearing a rosary necklace. The police said they looked very similar to the ones that they found. Police then went to search the Boynton Beach home of Roberto on February 24th, finding red marks on the front door that lab tests later confirmed were bloodstains. Cologne claimed, get this, that he cut himself a month earlier while installing the door. Now, I've installed doors before. I've never been cut doing it. I'm not saying it couldn't happen. But would you leave your blood smeared on the door for a month? After being injured that badly?
I mean, usually when I bleed everywhere when doing home repair projects, I try to clean it up as quickly as possible. You know, sometimes I've had it where a drop of blood fell on the laminate floor, and so that's where having a dog really comes in handy. But usually I try to clean it up.
Yeah. Unless maybe Roberto is Jewish and he thought I'm doing the Passover thing. I don't know. But this is your first sign that he's a terrible criminal, because clearly you know where this is going. This is Mary's blood, and it's been on the door for a week, right? 6 days after we think, killed her, her blood is still smeared on the front door. So he's not smart enough to clean up after himself. It gets worse.
Well, I mean, let me back up a second. She was an illegal immigrant, is that correct?
Yes.
I mean, maybe she was the housekeeper, and after he killed her, there was no one left to clean it up.
Oh, he's supposed to be the housekeeper for the mother in Hialeah.
Okay.
But they were married technically, so I guess she would live with him. It did say that they found documents showing that she lived with the mom, according to the documents they found. So, okay. Crime scene investigators also found, get this, blood spatter on the walls, the floor, and the ceiling of Cologne's garage.
Oh, wow.
Which he described to them, get this, as his abattoir.
Say what?
Talk about red flags, right? He tells police who turns their garage into a private abattoir.
What? Okay, pardon my ignorance. What is an abattoir?
A slaughterhouse.
Oh, okay.
It's where you take animals to kill them and slaughter them.
Oh, so this was just there from the last time he was processing Bambi.
Yeah, I guess.
Sounds legit to me.
Maybe Roberto is an avid hunter. Maybe, but who
Well, it's Florida, so maybe it was the last time he went gator hunting or something.
Maybe it's gator. That's true. That's true. It could be. But you know who does turn their garage into private abattoirs? Mass murderers.
Yeah.
Psychopaths.
Usually.
They do that.
Yeah. I mean,
So
it's,
crime-
maybe he was, taking some hints from Jeffrey Dahmer or something. Well, no, because it doesn't say he ate her, so.
That's true. That's true. He told the police that he never noticed the blood. It must have, get this, here's his excuse. It must have come from his dog, he said, who was bleeding 5 months previously and shook in his cage. So he keeps his dog caged in his garage, bleeding so badly that when the dog shakes, it sprays blood on the ceiling. What the heck? Who would
Wow.
believe that story? You're just, okay, all right, so maybe you didn't kill somebody, but we're going to take you away because you're a crazy, animal abusing person. What in the heck?
It's at this point, I mean, clearly the guy didn't spend much time planning out, his alibi. It's
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I've recently converted to Judaism, and in Judaism, you must perform ritual sacrifice to cleanse you of your sins. And I asked the local temple, and they just wouldn't have it, so I decided to do it myself.
That explains the blood in the garage. This is best construction.
Yeah.
Blood in the garage and on the door. It's Judaism. That's
Yes.
And
No offense to any of our Jewish listeners.
I started to say to those of you who are Jewish and who are listening to this show, we mean no offense whatsoever. We are trying to find the best construction for this horrible, horrible crime, and that's the best we could come up with. Okay, so he claimed it was dog blood. Tests confirmed it was human blood. Wow, surprise. So they come back 2 days later. It's February 26th. It's now been 10 days since Cologne, we think, killed the wife. And he taunted the police, telling them, find the body. Find the body. So what they did find was lots of marijuana, and they arrested him for drug possession.
Oh.
He said, police reported that Cologne, apparently thinking that the police were out of earshot, said, there's one thing they can't do. They can't put Humpty Dumpty back together again. Oh.
Man,
And
I don't know if this guy belongs in Supermax or a padded cell.
I know. In the report, police say that he bragged, quote, there's really nothing they can take from my house, It's no use to them in prosecution except parts and stuff.
I rescind my previous comment about Jeffrey Dahmer. I think this guy was taking his clues from Dahmer now that you mention it.
It very well could be. Police.
Maybe not the eating part, but everything else clearly seems to be there. Wow.
He taunted the police, telling them, according to police, they reported he told them, at least you didn't find a body. But on March 5th, investigators unearthed human remains in his backyard, and fingerprint analysis confirmed they belonged to his wife, Mary. So, prosecutors told jurors that Cologne fatally beat his wife to death with a pipe and then used an electric saw to dismember her body and buried it in the backyard.
My goodness.
So you're wondering, probably at this point, after all these gruesome details, where's the self-defense question? Why are we talking about this? Well, here's why. Cologne's lawyers are arguing, they argued on Monday of this week, that Gomez Mullet, Mary, started the violence that caused Roberto to snap, quote unquote, when she went into his house and began, quote unquote, attacking him, and then he quote unquote, reacted inadvertently and killed her.
I
So
got nothing.
there's no best construction on this that I can think of, except that maybe he's crazy.
Yeah, I just inadvertently used that electric saw to dismember her. It's
Well, he's not even denying that he killed her at this point.
he was going green. He was just composting her body in the garden.
There's your best construction.
I'm going to hell. Oh.
But this is classic. This is, again, any self-defense instructor worth his salt will tell you to dismember your attacker and bury him in your backyard.
Oh.
And if they don't, they're not worth... I mean, Aaron Israel never taught us this. I am really disappointed.
I have to back up for a second. I feel horrible because I'm laughing and yet this poor woman is still dead.
I know. Yeah.
It's Florida.
It is Florida.
Oh, goodness.
And that advice that you hear, about not talking to police, that's bunk. Not only should you talk to them, you should taunt them. That's clearly the best way to behave in a self-defense situation. Cut up the body.
I'll cut up you too if you keep telling me this.
That's right. Cut up the body, bury the evidence, and then dare the police to find it.
I'll teach you to take away my marijuana.
Weird.
That's my best Cheech and Chong impression. Now everyone's going to think I'm a racist.
Yeah, we got the environmentalists and the Jews and the Hispanics pissed off at us. What else can we do today?
This might be the first episode where we have to offend just absolutely everyone. I mean,
Might as well. Why not?
Life goals, man. Bucket list stuff right here.
That's right.
Wow.
All right, this next one.
There's more.
There's more. This next one is not quite it's tangential, and they're to self-defense. It is, I guess there's a lesson that we need to sort of share here for our listeners. Listen, this comes from KALB in Alexandria, Louisiana. 12 days before she killed her estranged husband, Thomas Coutee Jr., in an Alexandria Walmart parking lot back in 2018, Kayla Giles bought the gun and a platinum member status self-defense policy through United Specialty Insurance Company and a partnering company called Delta Defense. Giles was initially paid out $50,000 when she filed her claim, mere minutes after killing her estranged husband. Now, we get asked all the time to recommend these kinds of policies, or who do we use? And you and I are both members of the Armed Citizens Legal Defense Network, and that's our recommendation. But there's a cautionary tale here in this, because this lady is learning I think going to learn a very interesting lesson, or she already has. The money stopped coming when the insurance company found out that she was charged with second-degree murder. Not just that, but obstruction of justice. She was convicted on both counts in January, and she'll be sentenced to life in prison later this month. So, if you have one of these policies, we recommend them. Do your research, understand what the small print is. They're going to defend you and help you in if you're involved in a self-defense shooting. They're not going to be crazy about defending you and sending you money if you plotted to kill your ex-husband and claim self-defense.
Right. And this also was one of the, I forget I think it was called Carry Guard? The NRA? No, that wasn't it. Whatever the
Carry
NRA.
Guard.
That's what it was called. Okay.
Yep.
I had initially gone with Carry Guard just because, as opposed to having to pay for the entire year up front, it had a monthly payment plan. Until I read the fine print that we won't actually pay out anything until you've been found innocent.
Right.
So what's the problem there is I'm not Daddy Warbucks.
Yeah.
Where am I going to get the money to pay for an attorney and then expect reimbursement after I've been found innocent?
Yeah. Once the small print at Carry Guard came out, that was a complete flop.
Yeah. Because that was defunct within a matter of 6 months after it came out, wasn't it?
Yeah. And they had pretty big names, pushing it.
Right.
And it just, and I remember seeing all the signs at the NRA convention when it was here in Dallas. And then within months after that convention, it had gone belly up and it was no more. Now, United States Concealed Carry Association has a similar program. Of course, there's Delta Defense. There's the Armed Citizens Legal Defense Network. There's something called Texas Law Shield. There's some other things. There are probably some statewide things around the country. Do your research and understand what it is they will and won't cover, and understand whether or not they will provide you assistance. The reason that I'm a fan of Armed Citizens Legal Defense Network is they don't wait until the court case is over. They will provide you bail money. They will provide you money and assistance to find an attorney. They will provide you with experts to help in your defense, people like Massad Ayoob. So it's not really insurance. It is. It's
a fraternal organization. That's the best way I would describe it.
That's a good way of describing it. Perfect.
Yeah. And it's great unless you're like this lady who clearly planned on killing her ex-husband.
Right. And none of them are right. Yeah. None of them are going to pay you or help you out if it turns out that you weren't actually involved in a self-defense shooting. Once that happens, and especially if you're obstructing justice, they're not going to stand there and waste their money defending you. Giles filed a federal complaint a year after the shooting to get the money, which would be $1 million in coverage and criminal defense limits up to $150,000. Although she's been convicted, her attorney, Thomas Rocky Wilson, believes that the phrase imminent threat of death or great bodily injury in the small print of the policy is subjective, and said that Giles believed she was in danger when she killed her estranged husband. Yeah, well, she's now been convicted of not only murder, but not like manslaughter. We're talking second-degree murder here and obstruction of justice. The insurance company responded this week to her attorney's most recent arguments, writing that Giles lost her criminal trial, and based on the plain language of the policy, there is no coverage for her claims. This coming from an attorney for United Specialty Insurance. It's now up to a federal judge to decide if the insurance company will have to pay out or if Giles is going to lose the complaint. So our lesson here is whatever program you choose, whatever policy you choose, or membership opportunity like Armed Citizens Legal Defense, whatever you choose, make sure you understand what it is they will and won't cover. And don't go killing people and claiming self-defense.
Yeah, I mean, you don't get the policy while you're planning to kill someone, hoping that the policy will then get you off the hook.
It does seem a little strange that she bought the gun, got the policy, killed the husband, and moments later filed the claim.
Yeah.
Odd coincidence that. All right, last one. This one is from right here in Texas. It is specifically from a little town called Martindale, which is a little rural town somewhere south of Austin, about 1,200 people out in the middle of nowhere. Deputies this was last year, October of last year. Deputies with the Caldwell County Sheriff's Office said it responded to reports of a shooting in the 100 block of Tina's Trail in Martindale in October of last year. The sheriff's office said Terry Dwayne Turner, age 65, confronted a suspicious vehicle and shot the person inside. Sheriff's deputies arrived on scene and took 31-year-old Adil, I don't know how to pronounce his name. The reporter in the video that I saw pronounced it Drugi. So I'm just going to say Adil.
Good
Adil,
call.
who is a Moroccan national. He was taken to the hospital with life-threatening injuries and later died. Turner reportedly cooperated with the investigation. He was not arrested until 11 days after the shooting, when he turned himself into the sheriff's office when they had obtained an arrest warrant. His bond was set at $150,000, and he bonded out of jail just hours after his arrest. Now, the first question that I have here is, and that I want to see if we can find the best construction for this, but a guy shoots somebody in his driveway, and it takes 11 days for them to arrest him? How does that happen?
I don't know. I mean, that makes you wonder if he didn't have some sort of connections.
Yes. And I know it's easy to I hate that when people try to play the race card, but I have to wonder if this story is reversed and we're talking about a 65-year-old white guy getting shot by a 31-year-old Moroccan national. I suspect Moroccan national is in jail pretty quick. That's just my gut feeling. We're talking about rural middle of Texas.
Yeah.
And so I think you're probably right. Because I don't want to go with the racism angle, but I'm wondering, 65-year-old guy from that town, which I think is the county seat of Caldwell County, I'm wondering, is it connections? And they're like, oh, he's probably innocent. The rest of it gets even more interesting and more head-scratching as we find out more details. Listen to this. According to the arrest affidavit obtained by KVUE, Turner told police that he noticed an unknown vehicle with its headlights off parked in the driveway next to his pickup truck when he got up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom. Now, so what would a normal person with a fully functional frontal cortex, what would you do in that situation?
I'd just say, there's a truck outside.
Obviously, you're wrong. The correct answer is to grab a gun and run outside. Because that's what this idiot did. Turner
Those darn suspicious vehicles just popping up everywhere.
I know. Turner said he ran back into his bedroom to get his handgun and then ran outside to see the vehicle with its headlights on. The affidavit said that the vehicle began to rapidly accelerate in reverse. Well, duh. If I'm sitting in a driveway and a dude comes rushing out, he looks like he's a pretty big guy, comes running out at me with a gun, I'm going to hightail it out of there. So that's there's nothing to me suspicious about the fact that he began to accelerate in reverse rapidly. I would too.
Yeah.
The affidavit said that Turner struck the driver's side door twice with the handgun and then fired the handgun and returned to his house to call 911. We've talked about this stuff before with regards, many times we've covered stories of people who used a firearm to defend property, specifically vehicles, right? They risked their lives to go outside and confront someone stealing from them instead of staying in the safety of your home, being a good witness, and calling police. I think one of those stories, wasn't there a story of a guy who went out with a rifle and shot as the vehicle was driving away and ended up killing his own son?
Yeah.
You remember that?
It was, I don't remember the year, but I remember the incident, and it was on Thanksgiving Day. The guy shoots and kills his own son because he thought someone was stealing his truck.
Yep. So we have railed about this kind of thing for probably since our first year. I know Aaron Israel did early on.
Right.
The idea that you would risk your life and potentially take another person's life to defend property that you can recover through insurance. You're not talking about saving a human life here. We're talking about defending property.
And it wasn't even his own dang vehicle.
In this case, it's even worse. All the guy did was apparently had done was pulled into his driveway and then backed out.
Yeah.
So this is the kind of guy who makes a bad name for people like you and me who own firearms.
Right.
This is the guy, and those three idiots in Georgia who killed Ahmaud Arbery, they're the people that anti-gun people think of when they think of gun owners.
Right.
They think of this kind of, this lends credence to the argument that some people are just too stupid to own guns. This really is insanely stupid. He goes back in the house, he calls 911, and he says, quote, "I just killed a guy. Quote, tried to pull a gun on me, I shot. And quote, he started racing away, and I ran after him. He pointed a gun at me, and I shot." End quote. Want to guess what the police found?
Not a darn thing.
Nothing. No firearms in the vehicle and none on his person, according to an affidavit. And so the family has they told the radio station or TV station that based on the information that they received, it just didn't seem to add up. They demanded an independent investigation into the shooting. They believe, and I found this in another story, Adil's brother believes that he might have gotten lost trying to find his girlfriend's house, who lives in Maxwell, which is just down the road from Martindale, still a little tiny town in the middle of nowhere. And they believe that he pulled into either the wrong house because he was lost or because he was trying to get himself reoriented and turn around and go a different direction.
Well, where I grew up in Southern California, that if you were driving down the street and you needed to turn around to park on the street or whatnot, you would pull into somebody's driveway partway just so that you can make the 3-point turn. That's likely all this guy was doing.
Well, yeah, the best construction. And if he's in the driveway with the lights off, here's what I'm wondering, based on the brother talking about, the girlfriend's house being in a nearby town and that they think maybe he got lost. It's possible that he's on the phone with the girlfriend, pulls in and turns the lights off, and then crazy white dude with a gun comes running out. And he's like, "Oh, this isn't the right house," and backs out as fast as he possibly can.
Right.
He could have completely been in the wrong place thinking he was at the girlfriend's. So who knows? But here's some more kind of scratch your head stuff. Police apparently issued one search warrant for Turner, the shooter. They've issued 5 for the victim. They performed a toxicology report on the victim, but not the shooter. And the family is upset because they feel like he's being treated like a criminal. So
this has cover up written all over it. I don't want to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but when they're going to those kinds of lengths to try and prove this guy innocent.
Yeah. You wait 11 days before you actually decide, well, okay, I guess we got to arrest him. And then you go to all these lengths to investigate to see if you can. It looks like they're looking for evidence to exonerate the guy.
Right.
Not evidence of what actually happened. So best construction on that is, I think, still he knows somebody in the police department. He's friends with people on the force. I think he's a residential and commercial contractor, so maybe he's done work for the police department. Maybe he's done work for individuals who work there. And they're like, oh, he's a nice guy. He can't be, it's just some Moroccan kid. I mean, what's the big deal? I hate to think that that's the attitude, but it kind of feels like that's what it is. And this isn't just some Moroccan national potential terrorist kid. He's been in the U.S. since 2013, and he received a master's degree in financial analysis from Johnson & Wales University in Rhode Island, and he lives in Austin. So, or did, I should say. So we're not talking about just some, rando who is some suspicious person. He's very clean cut. Was. I keep saying is, and I feel horrible about that. It just feels like, cover up. It feels like trying to find a way to exonerate a friend instead of actually doing their jobs and upholding the law.
Well, and the crazy part about this is this sounds like some sort of plot for a Hollywood movie almost.
Yeah.
That these are the kinds of things that Hollywood pushes out, and then
and the poor refugee family has to try to go up against the establishment to try to clear their poor dead, family member. And it kind of feels, it does. This could be a really low budget movie, but it might be, I mean, I know this isn't a big, he's claiming self-defense, right? He's claiming, so there is a self-defense angle here. He's claiming that he fired in self-defense. The problem is that he put himself in that situation in the first place.
Right.
Even if the kid had a gun and pointed it at him, the guy created this problem to begin with by running out and trying to confront him and beating on the guy's car as he was trying to drive away.
Well, and if you go after someone with a gun in your hand and the other person then brandishes a weapon in response, who's the aggressor in that situation?
Mm-hmm. Yep. This is in no way self-defense, and it's so much worse than the guys who go out and confront people trying to steal from them. Because this guy had done nothing but pull into his driveway.
Right.
And then when he shoots, then he chases him instead of, okay, well, he ran off. Now I'll call police. I'll get the license plate number. I'll call police and report this suspicious activity. He decides to actually chase him down the street, beat on the car, and then fire around at him. And he knew he killed him instantly. I mean, he knew he had killed the guy. He told the police he killed the guy.
Right.
So it's not like the others. You remember the other stories where they fired the shot and they didn't realize they'd actually killed anybody until later.
Yeah, and there's a case like that, just down the road here where the guy sees a couple kids creeping around his porch. They didn't think he was home. And he said that he was just trying to shoot out the tires and ended up killing an 18-year-old kid.
Right.
But this case, you're talking about, At best, this is second-degree manslaughter, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, I don't know. I mean, I'm no legal expert, but this is just crazy.
It's a horrible story. And
Yeah.
it's the lesson here for all of us as gun owners is just don't be stupid.
Right.
Don't owning a gun is a huge responsibility. And yes, we own them to protect we own firearms, those of us who don't just own them for hunting. Those of us who own self-defense firearms do it to protect ourselves and our families. We don't own the firearm to protect property, and we don't own them to shoo people off of our property who mistakenly wander into our driveway or or into our yard. The smart thing to do is to stay in a position, because what if this kid had been a bad guy? And you walk out, you run out there to confront him, and he shoots you in your front yard. What have you accomplished?
Right.
You're risking your life for absolutely nothing. And now he's probably, with, Lord willing, he's going to prison for a long time for nothing, essentially.
Right. And I mean, kiss your right to own a firearm goodbye.
Yeah.
We don't want guys like this owning firearms to begin with.
No. And the people on the left, the anti-gun bunch, who want to say, well, you ought to get training. You should have to go through some sort of training just to own a gun. You should have to get a license just to own a gun. And they use the car example as, well, you have to get a license and you have to go through a class to get a license to drive a car, blah, blah, blah. This guy is the argument for that. This guy is, and people who do stupid stuff like this make their argument easier and ours harder.
Right. Yeah, but then at the same time, there's no license test that weeds out idiots and a-holes.
True. Yeah, you could still have a license and still do something completely stupid. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Sadly, we don't have as sophisticated as, well, Texas doesn't require a license to carry anymore. But if you take the license to carry class, they don't test your intelligence.
No, I mean, and depending on where you're taking the class, sometimes you need to test the intelligence of the instructor.
Well, that's true. That's true. Also very true. Anywho, all right, so that's going to wrap it up for this week. Pastor, thank you so much for doing this. It's always a pleasure to get together and do it.
Yes, it is.
Folks, if you have any questions or any comments about anything you heard here today, any thoughts on these stories, or if you have a story or stories that you would like us to look at in a future episode, visit our feedback page at armedlutheran.us/feedback. We'd love to hear from you. Leave us a voice message or a voicemail or an email, and we will respond on the show or directly, whatever's appropriate, or discuss whatever topic you bring up in a future episode. We'd love to hear from you. Next week, we're going to have a Gun Club exclusive, and then a variety show the week after that, and then our March, I believe we're going to do our March online hangout in 3 weeks. So thank you all for listening. Until next time, keep shooting, keep praying. I'll talk to you next time.
John Bennett is the pastor at St. John's Lutheran Church in Willow Creek, Minnesota. For more information, visit stjohnswillowcreek.org. For show notes, be sure to visit our website at www.armedlutheran.us. Check out the Facebook page, The Armed Lutheran, or join our Facebook group, Fans of Armed Lutheran Radio. If you like what you hear, please leave us a comment on our feedback page at armedlutheran.us/feedback, or a review on iTunes, and let us know what you think. Thank you for listening to Armed Lutheran Radio, a member of the Self-Defense Radio Network.